Well, legends, how's everybody doing? Let's analyze the situation here for the price of Bitcoin. We are pumping. Are we going to manage to break through 74K? Let me know in the comment section, guys. What is your opinion? Let's dive in straight away into the charts. However, first of all, let's say hello to the absolute legends here in the comment section. Hope you're doing good, guys. Happy Monday. Let's analyze the situation all together, guys, because we're kind of tackling this 74K, trying to break. We do have a lot of resistance up here. Is the bullish structure going to maintain for the next coming days and suddenly break out in a wave 3, increasing volume? We finally go to $80,000, $85,000 throughout the next coming days. Let me know your opinion in the comment section. First of all, let's say hello to the absolute legends, okay? Bathmaria Vallejos, much love to you. Kevin, good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. Absolutely awesome. Much love to you, brother. Hey, Andy and all legends. Philip, much love to you. Archie, oh yes, legends. A traders here. Thank you very much for joining. Hi, Andy. Good morning. Akan, how are you doing? Daniel Singleton is here. Let's go. Mako, good morning. Do you celebrate Semana Santa? Yes, of course. Absolutely, Mako. Hey, legend, get ready for some moves. Trump speaking soon, says Jix. Andy, hello. Glad to see you, my man. Heck, mom, much love to you. How are you doing, legends? Are you safe there, my brother? Sorry, I was absent for some months due to my marriage. I am in India now. No problem at all. Happy marriage. Much love. Hi, Andy. V Mello, how are you doing? Venki, Shamsu, you are my number one. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Majestic, how are you doing? Please tell me what you think. It's now 85 or 65. Absolutely, we're going to go through that. Of course, the possibility still of this being a bearish correction is there. However, the local structure is still maintaining bullish, still higher lows consistently. And the most bullish case scenario is popping out with a big volume breakout here. We need to be aware that that could happen, okay? You know I'm a double top, double bottom kind of guy as well. I like to try and get into those double tops or the double bottoms for a long position. Naturally, we are forming a local double top today. We are hitting resistance. However, the way that we moved up there on the lower time frame is not looking too great. This does look like a three-wavy corrective structure. I've been analyzing this throughout the last hour. And, well, not only this movement, of course, but it looks very three-wavy, that you can't fit in a nice impulse in this move, which is just bringing the idea that this could form a corrective range and take out the highs finally, okay? So it's not a great high for a double top to absolutely nuke, okay? It doesn't look great. However, double tops need to be attempted, right? At least for me, they need to be attempted just because they give you such a shallow stop loss, right? If I am trying to get into this double top right over here, my stop loss is looking like this. This basically can bring you great risk to reward, of course, right? So, you know, the attempts for me should be taken here just because we are hitting a higher time frame level of resistance. This is something that we were talking about inside of the trading community, of course, throughout the last 24 hours. Yesterday, Sunday, this anchored VWAP from $98,000. This is on the Bybit chart, okay? On Bybit, we did actually hit the anchored VWAP, all right? Just very, very early this morning. And the rejection happened, right? It wasn't massive, but $1,500 rejection. What is interesting is the anchored VWAP was hit throughout Coinbase, for example, and some other exchanges. We'd already hit it last week, which you know, brought me a very, very good short position as well. However, the Bybit one was not hit yet. This is BTC US dollar perpetual. It just got hit today, you would say, right? In the last 24 hours. This is still big resistance. When we do go to the daily time frame, we are also hitting a daily order block wick. You can see on the daily time frame here, when we did get this drop throughout the last week of January, first week of February, right, we do have a little consolidation here, which is providing us that daily order block. As we can see, the lower part of the daily order block was just gently tapped, okay, just about an hour ago, right, as we were coming in here at 74.5k. So the lower part of this order block is, getting the reaction. We're just sweeping up the local highs of last week, right, over here at 74k. The resistance is real here still, right? It's very, very real that we do have the resistance. You're claiming liquidity from last week's high. You got the daily order block lower part. You're hitting the anchored VWAP from 98k on Bybit US dollar perpetual. So there's a lot going on here in this region. This is why the price is, reacting to this zone as we get above last week's highs, right? So double tops locally, rejection of anchored VWAP. I like it. Will it be the one that actually rejects several $1,000s to get a very, very good short setup? Of course, longing throughout the last week was an option, right? First major long that we mentioned last week was on Friday, basically, where we're looking for Saturday and Sunday to really get that choppiness here down to the 67, 66k region. And that's very acceptable long position to actually maintain, just in case the price does turn out to have, to form that bullish scenario, which is a 1-2, another 1 and 2 right over here with that running flat, multiple 1-2s building up here in this region to just break out in a wave 3. And of course, whoever longed all the way down here, still maintaining some of that position after collecting some profits, is going to be very, very happy, right? Throughout the last couple of days, there were some hidden long opportunities as well. We did have the weekend momentum to the downside. This was just in the last couple of days, coming down into that point of control. It was very valid. We like to take a look at the bullish and bearish case options, of course. Did this have a possibility of forming a lower high in a 3-wave structure? We were hitting a daily level rejection, point of control. I was in this short, got stopped out, I have to say. And the other option, obviously, this is the bearish case where this is an impulse. This is a 3-wave structure, still a lower high. If we were to lose these higher lows, it would confirm that this is a 3-wave move to the upside, bringing the possibility for the price to actually move much lower. The bullish option was maintaining these higher lows, basically, right? In that 1-2, 1-2, right? In the most bullish case scenario. So coming down here throughout the weekend into this point of control, with that choppiness, you can see the price is slowing down in this region. You're finding the point of control of last week's range, mini range, basically, from Monday to Friday, basically, giving you that chance for that long trade. Now, I have to say, your hard invalidation is literally the lows. We did mention this as a possibility throughout Friday's stream, where, if you are looking for the bullish case scenario, this is your hard invalidation. You want the price action to hit the highs here, basically. So it was very, very acceptable option throughout the weekend. Of course, on the weekend, we're not doing live streams. We're chilling a little bit, okay? But bullish case scenario was double 1-2, right, to then look for the movement to hit the highs and either form another 1 and 2 and then break out right in a wave 3. That is still very much a possibility, right, when we do consider the different scenarios, bearish and bullish. Bullish case, we mentioned it on Friday. This is your invalidation. You want to maintain those higher lows here for the bullish case, maintain bullish structure here to tap the highs at 74k plus. Bearish option was looking at this as an impulse, 3-wave structure. It is true that you don't like a wave 2 here in the bearish case to come so far, okay, from the initial stages of your wave 1 here. It's not great. It's not great. And price action is proving itself here throughout the last 24 hours, that the probability, this is already a red flag for a wave 2. You're getting across the 0.88 Fibonacci from this speculative wave 1. Getting above the 0.88 for that wave 2 is a red flag. Okay, it's usually a red flag, and today we can see how price came up actually and took out the highs here. So what is next? What are the scenarios? Higher time frame. Somebody was asking in the comment section, right? Do we still believe that we come down to the low 60k levels, or do we actually break out to 80k plus? Well, it all has to do with the local price action, right? Local price action does really lead the way. It leads the way. And just as we were discussing throughout Friday, the bullish option is available. The bulls just need to maintain that higher low at the 69.2, 69.5. I mean, you could arguably discuss there was a triangle here, so the higher low could have been slightly higher at 69.8k, but literally coming into this zone already through the weekend would have been a red flag for the bulls here. Okay, if you come that low here, then obviously the same theory does apply as the 0.88 Fibonacci. If this is another wave 1, that's the retracement in another wave 2. If you come that low, hitting beyond the 0.88 Fibonacci, it's already a red flag. This actually would, kind of almost confirm it's a 3-wave corrective structure. Even though if you do get a reaction here and a bounce, you're probably going to take out the low later on, right? So we did maintain a higher low, tackling the highs. We did a little bit of local price action today. Devil was providing a little bit of a higher time frame scenarios. I jumped in just to talk about locally the different options that we do have here on the lower time frame, and the latest one was a double top, right? Double top is acceptable if you break out from here. I don't have any quick short trade. We are at a zone that we are hitting resistance as explained, right? We are hitting the daily, the anchored VWAP, sorry, from 98k on the Bybit chart. That is US dollar perpetual. We're hitting the daily order block, okay, low, the daily order block low. We just tapped it today, and that's where we rejected just over $1,000. But for the entry, it's nice to get into. This is a scalp day trade that does have the potential to turn into a day trade swing trade, right? This is a short trade that if you entered, you need to realize that the momentum is still bullish. It is still bullish. And if you are getting into double tops, you want to treat them as scalps. And that scalp, obviously profits have been taken. Very protective in the position. Could it be a high? Could we go lower? Possibly yes, right? Possibly yes. But being defensive and having very, very good entries. This entry was mentioned in the community, right? It's an acceptable double top attempt, okay? If you want to enter, double top attempt is valid here very locally. We're hitting the daily order block as well, and just giving a little bit of the guidance on risk management basically, right? Just if you are going to take this trade, be defensive. If we double top, it's a valid entry. Stop loss becomes very, very small basically, right? If you attempt that double top locally here, that's the daily order block, of course, low. That's the low of the wick. It just gives you such a tiny stop loss that it's very, very lucrative to get in, right? Then once you get the movement down, you're collecting some profits, you can really, really lower your risk here in this trade. So we're going to break down mainly the 5-minute time frame and 15-minute, 5-minute time frame to look for internal possibilities here. Okay, local setups mainly. However, we're going to keep it 5 minutes on the 4-hourly time frame to really kind of discuss a little bit. Hey, is it bullish, right? Is it finally bullish, right? I've been extremely bearish, been leaning more on the bearish side throughout the last week. However, throughout the last couple of weeks, throughout the last few days, momentum was building up here. And, we need to discuss, of course, the bullish case scenario, which is multiple 1-2s, right, on Friday. We finally got that bounce at the point of control, as explained here, from this mini range of last week, right? So, you're holding right there. Bullish case is maintaining market structure. You don't want to lose the higher lows here, and finally coming to the upside. Whoever longed in throughout the weekend, took a very, very good decision here. Hard stop loss is that higher low, right? And you're targeting the highs. Always nice to leave some open in that case if you did get into that long attempt. So breaking down here the higher time frame, right? We'll go through the 4-hourly time frame here basically. As someone did ask, what you're looking at here, right? Is it actually going to break out to plus 80k, or is it going to come down to the low 60s, basically to tackle the low here? We're going to talk about the two main scenarios, okay? The two main scenarios. One is the bullish one, and one is the obviously the bearish one, which I would not want to see the price break much higher from this range. Okay, we'll break that down. Somebody was asking here in the comment section, so get your votes in from the poll. While I do check here how many likes we do have. So 58 likes, that's good enough. We can get to 100. I'm sure we can. Let me just say a quick hello here to the absolute legend. Donald Trump is speaking now. Be ready, guys. Hit the like. Come on. Red, thank you very much. I did indeed. Suzanne, much love. Flacco, how are you doing, brother? Much love to you. A Trader, legend, smash the like button. Thank you very much for the support, my man. You know what? A Trader has actually... He's won the spot. He's won the spot. He's been here for a few months now, and he's incredibly supportive. He's actually a moderator right now. Shout out to you, my man, A Trader. Always giving love and support here in the comment section. Much love to you, my man. Right, much love from Morocco. Let's go. Vamos, Marruecos. Ashil, hello. Right, Bitcoin to break $74,000, says Bitcoin Boss, and push up to 79,489 and turn and trend down to 75,000. Andy, please give Elliott Wave an analytics. We're gonna go through that possibility. Most bullish case scenario when we consider Elliott Wave theory is this is building multiple 1-2s. There's just no other scenario when we consider the most bullish one to break out in a wave 3. There is another one that actually Joy inside of the community, the trading community on Telegram, was talking about this last week. A possible leading diagonal, this would have to be, which you're literally looking for a 5-wave move here to come to its end stages potentially, right? Over here, leading diagonal, where this naturally, creates a bit of noise in this region, maybe a little bit more, and then, creates that big pullback down throughout the next, 1 to 2 weeks. This would have to be a leading diagonal, of course, because an ending diagonal here from this low, we can't fit anything. An ending diagonal, you either want it in a wave 5, okay, or you want it in a wave C. Now, you can't fit a wave C here unless it would be a running flat, but that's kind of almost impossible. This would have to be an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. Of course, your B wave has gone, well beyond its target zones for B wave, basically. So there's no ending diagonal here that can be fitted. So it would have to be a leading diagonal. Now, leading diagonals are not very common. They are not very, very common indeed. For a wave A or either a wave 1. So it's technically possible, of course, because we do have the structure. You have your wave 4 that does look impulsive. I mean, this is a little bit of a red flag. It's not a pattern that I would be looking for, really. Could it play out? Well, eventually, yes, naturally it could, but there's a couple of red flags. Main red flag is leading diagonal is not very common. If you can count a corrective structure or multiple 1-2s on the formation, it does have higher probability on its own rather than a leading diagonal. The second red flag is that your wave 4, it looks very impulsive. It does look like an impulse down, okay? So naturally inside of a corrective structure, either your wave 4 or wave 2 needs to be a 3-wave, right, corrective structure, not an impulse. This does look very impulsive to the downside. So naturally, of course, if we do have that impulse to the downside, you know, here we can only really fit a running flat. Okay, running flat here for the bullish case. So this, on the most bullish case scenario, this is your wave 1, as explained last week, right? Also your wave 2 right over here, your smaller time frame wave 1 here, wave 2 right there, running flat. And here you're literally just building up 1 2 1 2 1 2 till it actually just breaks out here with high volume in a wave 3. The market structure has been bullish throughout the last couple of weeks. We are maintaining still bullish market structure throughout the last few days, and it's tackling the resistance, tackling 74k basically, right? We had that jump up on Friday. We got the jump up here today, Monday, and it looks like it could get weaker and weaker if the price does not successfully reject from here. Then, you know, we would be expecting a breakout. So it's one of those zones, despite, you know, feeling bearish, I do not want to get into a short, add to my shorts. I do not want to trade like that. If it doesn't want to reject on the local double tops, then stopped out close to break even. It's another day. You know, it doesn't want to reject. Whoever's in longs from lower, of course, or long throughout the weekend, then happy days, right? You quit with the shorts and let the longs ride to the upside, right? That's on the higher time frame, right? So as explained, if this is your wave 1, that's your wave 2, that's another wave 1, that's another wave 2, and you're building up multiple 1-2s, holy smokes, guys, I would not want to play with short positions in this zone. Okay, me personally, because we either reject from the anchored VWAP, right, which is where we at. You know, this was my strategy throughout last week also. Anchored VWAP rejection on Coinbase. Most of the spot exchanges did get the rejection here on the anchored VWAP. Bybit was just hit today, giving you that valid zone. We're also hitting that daily order block pivot low, right? It's that daily order block wick low, which is providing that rejection today. Very valid for scalp entries, right? It's just very, very valid for a tap, reject, and go, right? You need to be very, very snipey, right? You need to treat it as a sniper trade. If you get into that short, you're entering at the highest level possible on that double top. Because if you know, you don't enter here on the rejection, this is like you double top and you enter, stop loss above the high of the wick, and you know, you're just running almost a free trade in that case. I would not want to short down here. Actually, local longs are looking very attractive. They are looking attractive. However, we need a little bit of more information, right? You might think, why attempt the shorts if the price is bullish and going up and up and up, right? You might think, man, if you've attempted so many shorts, right? I'm very, very good with where I enter the short and where my risk management is, okay? You might think my P&L must be in the red for the month of basically March, right? February, March, right? If you've been so bearish, right? Well, this was a good short. Entered a short here, also entered long, okay, also entered long, and now just recently the recent trade that I haven't got a quick long trade at the moment here, even though, you know, the structure is looking bullish. We're going to talk about a next long setup that we created. We gave the plan just in the last hour, basically last couple of hours inside of the trading community about a possible long setup, but you need to be very, very good at your entries and very, very good with your risk management, right? You know, if I go to check here, you know, my P&L of the last 30 days, it is in the green, right? It's still in the green, just because I'm very, very defensive with my short attempts. Okay, very, very defensive. I collect profits and, you know, stop loss close to break even. So overall, it's all about management, right? Even though you might think, man, you've been looking for shorts in the last, week or so. It was the previous week that we talked about the long trade setup, but it's just about managing the trade. It's how to enter, how to manage risk, collect some profits, protect. If that gets stopped out at break even, there's another trade around the corner, be it tomorrow, be it tonight, be it in 2 days. I'm explaining also as well inside of the trading community that, if we catch this double top trade, right, stop loss is extremely small. It is very, very small. We get the movement down. If the price rejects $500-$600 and you did not catch the rejection at the top, it's not worth entering. Momentum is still bullish, right? If you get into the double top, you enter basically at the double top. And I was just, giving a little bit of an explanation here to someone that was asking about, how to detect the, where to enter and where not to enter, right? Snipe and check how big of the rejection is, how is it a successful rejection. When we are sniping a double top, just to give a brief explanation on this, this is what we're looking at. If you do not enter here on the first couple of $100 of a rejection, then you're not entering, right? Late snipe. If you are getting into this territory already, you're entering late. Your stop loss is getting, a bit big in that case. And naturally, if you've rejected $1,000, right, you don't want to you don't want to enter that short, right? Because then your stop loss is, risk to reward. This is a snipe short rejection for the possibility of an ABC flat or a WXY scenario. But anyway, just giving a little bit of the examples here when we talk about if we double top, create that wick, you do have less than a minute to decide really. Then we back tested, of course. This is an issue. Sometimes you could get, be defensive and get stopped out. However, the stop loss is so small here that it's just like worth the attempt. But if you do reject several $100s, you're too late to enter that short trade, okay? And it's literally a wick on the 5-minute time frame, right? For example. So just giving a little bit of the examples here inside of the trading community of how to manage this trade, how to execute it, and how to obviously, manage your risk based on these sniper double tops, okay? Which are, for me, they are great, especially when you're hitting a higher time frame, level of resistance, such as the anchored VWAP from 98k from Bybit. You're hitting the daily order block here, the wick low of that order block. It's just it still is a strong resistance. However, the market is bullish. This local high is not great. I don't like this move to the upside. It looks like it could be a combination of a corrective structure. One of the scenarios was a flat, okay? However, this flat did not finish nicely, okay, with a 5-wave move down. Ideally, you want to see a 5-wave impulse. It would have been a pretty epic kind of SFP, okay, if we would have formed, the idea of this trade. And we're looking at local stuff that could happen. You got a nice little range here with a high volume node. That could have been a reaction level on the 5th wave. You could have double bottomed here, right? Reclaim the level, long entry. Some ideas to see if this does happen throughout the last, couple of hours. However, this did not happen. We pumped all the way up to this low right over here. And that does look like a 3-wave move down. We kind of missed a 4 and 5 here for the flat, okay, to then take out the highs. I have to say, most bearish option, even though I don't like it too much because, this would be extremely long, is a double 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. You're just getting ready here to break down. However, this is not great. I would still believe that this high is going to be taken, right? I would still say that there's actually a good chance that we take out these highs again, because the way that we created this high, I cannot find a solid impulse here to the upside. When I do count the waves, it's a 7 waver. A 7 waver, of course, brings you a double zigzag. This middle wave to be a wave X, that's your wave W in the zigzag, your wave X here, which would be this one, the longest one, and then another zigzag to the upside. Not pretty here for an impulse. Very, very hard to find a solid impulse here. It looks more 3 wavy. So from the lows of today, these higher lows, if you do form a very likely 3 wave structure, this was also 3 wavy, because you had the bearish case here was 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, right? You want that 4 5, you want that impulse to continue here to the downside. However, when the movement was getting volatile, we pumped up to take out the lower highs. So that literally invalidates the multiple 1 2s. If you have 1 2 1 2 1 2, another 1 and 2 in this case, because you want the 3rd wave, then 4 and 5, then you say, okay, cool, this looks like an impulse, correction up preferably, and then move down. As you take out that lower high, and then you realize that this is likely also a double zigzag in that case, right? Because you can't find an impulse, there's no contracting diagonal. This is the longest wave, so that's not possible on the 5th wave. Longer than your 3rd wave, not possible. Expanding diagonal, not possible. There's not a motive wave in this movement down. So as you take out that lower high, you just realize that this is likely corrective. Right over here, multiple 1 2s have been invalidated. 3 wave down, this does look more 3 wavy to the upside. We need to start building up possible corrections in this range, because I would be interested in a long trade setup here. I'm actually interested. However, I cannot long here. I cannot long this movement down. I can't long here personally. I need to see a little bit of more formation here on this price action, and this is going through Elliott Wave theory, of course, because if you have other strategies such as we're hitting the VWAP, in this case VWAP's not doing much, but overall you might have another strategy here to get into the long position. I need to see a little bit of more structure to confirm what is being forming here. There's a few options, and those few options I want to talk about right now on the stream, because I would be happy to attempt a long position to take out that high. I think there could be a good chance that this movement up is a 3 wave move, and if we have a 3 wave move to the upside, it looks interesting to take out that high again at some point. However, we need to find the structure that could be developing considering Elliott Wave theory here on the 5-minute time frame. So let's break that down. Was talking about it in the community in the last couple of hours here as we were developing this range, so we're just going to spit it out here on YouTube. For the moment, I'm in no local long position. I'm only in that double top short. Considering that we moved up in a very, very 3 wave matter, it is preferred. If you go to the 1-minute time frame, you might fit in an impulse here, but it does look 3 wavy. I'm still happy to maintain of that short. So just imagine that we talk about, I like the idea of taking out this local high, and then the price, forms a lower high and nukes down, right? I'm still going to be in that short position just because it's a good entry. I'm going to leave 50% open, and I'm happy to hold some of this short trade. Okay. You might think, well, you were talking about the bullishness on locally here, and we did not hit the highs, and then tomorrow I'm celebrating a short trade that was taken here just because it's a good entry, and it's worth maintaining some of that position because it's just a good entry at the highs. However, I'm in favor locally to take up this high purely based on this movement up. It does look corrective. the bullish the momentum is bullish. Let's not deny that momentum is bullish. If you are going to be a top catcher, you need to know how to do it, because I got DMs last week of people, in a short from 67K, 68K. I hope this guy has been out of the position or being defensive, really. I'm not the guy that's going to be holding a short and adding to the short, and I'm going to short here later on. I'm going to add more if we go higher. And this is just dangerous. It's dangerous practice. And what is more crucial is not understanding the price action locally, because last week on Friday I said this an impulse down in a wave 1 and this an ABC 3-wave corrective structure to then roll down later on. It's possible. Why not? It is a possibility. However, I'm considering as well the bullish case and where we would have local bullish long opportunities. As a trader, we look at both scenarios. Never, higher time frame, I've been leaning a little bit more bearish. I cannot deny that. We've been looking at the fractal. This does look more as a 3-wave corrective structure. Lots of similarities from this, right? We do have the bars pattern, right? Basically this one was this is the 2022 bars pattern. This is the range that we had here basically from a few months ago, right? Very, very similar. Are we going to end up breaking down? We're doing Elliott Wave theory. As mentioned, even though we have a couple of fractals here that look incredibly similar to previous price action, this is 2022 in May and June. Look, it looks like it wants to break the fractal. Very, very similar. Move down, 3-wave structure. You got the bounce. We're still giving a chance for the bears. That doesn't mean I go max short and I add to shorts because it's going to reverse at some point just because of all of this. Absolutely not. It's all about managing the trade. And I can, prove it with the P&L of the last month, last 60 days. It's managing the situation, knowing where to enter, where to protect, right? So it seems like that fractal could be broken. In that case, when we do consider Elliott Wave theory, the most bullish case scenario is actually 1 2 1 2 with that running flat that looks awful. Even though it looks awful, there's no invalidation. There's no invalidation. This is very long in time. Running flat is not common, but there's no invalidation. Not common doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, most bullish case scenario is just we're building up multiple 1-2s here. We end up breaking out. Finally, somebody was saying that we go to 79K plus or so, and then we might reject, right? It is true that we're going to talk about the local longs that I would be looking for here. I mean, naturally, if this is going to be bullish, you would preferably... I'm going to break down a little bit of the bullish structures here, the bullish scenarios on the lower time frame, guys, because, if I can get into another long position, very locally, this is not a swing long zone. It also has its stop losses, and it also has just the highs as the TP, the main TP, regardless if it breaks successfully or not, then that's another case. But there are some longs to be entered here in this range, and I want to break it down on the lower time frame so you can understand, which one can play out. Maybe tomorrow's stream we say, what, this scenario played out, the one that we mentioned, right? So we'll crack that down now in the next coming minutes. But there was something that I wanted to mention here on a slightly higher time frame, and I forgot zooming in here on the lower time frame. I completely blanked out because I switched the chart on a higher time frame scenario that I wanted to mention here. Never mind, we're going to focus on the 5-minute time frame. to really discuss locally here what could get developed. Very, very locally, okay? Very, very locally. I mean, this could have been a cheeky long position here, down here. That could have been a cheeky long position. With relatively tight invalidation. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The price could evolve now in the next coming minutes, and we could see something formed, okay? But it does look interesting for this high to be taken, okay? It does look quite interesting for this high to be taken. So what kind of range could evolve here, right? What kind of range could be on the formation? Let's break it down. One scenario here would be WXY, and Y wave finishes in a triangle. So we got the 3 wave down in W, 3 wave up in X. We got the 3 wave down here being a possible A wave. You need at least one more lower high, which we do have. Would treat this as a relatively quick lower high, but this could be one scenario. I would say that this would be a pretty quick triangle. This is something that, you know, we discussed a similar scenario here last week on a WXY finishing in a triangle, where we do have this movement down as W, wave X, and then the triangle here in your wave Y, which is squeezing in an A, B, C, D, E, right? If you have the zigzag down, 3 wave up, taking out the high or not, it doesn't really matter. Sideways WXY, then you're looking for your A wave, B, C, D, E, right? You squeeze in a triangle structure forming higher lows and lower highs. That gives you the option for the long trade setup with stop loss at the low. This is something that could form here in the next, you know, couple of hours here potentially. The triangle could be slightly longer as well. Okay, this would be the most aggressive one, which is a very, very quick A, B, C, D, E. It would be a little bit quick, however, it would be acceptable. Form a lower high right now, boom, a higher low. And this, you know, this would be your invalidation right there. It is an acceptable entry. So if we do form a lower high here, boom, come down. It's a long trade that I would consider here on stream. So if we do reject here in a lower high, we come down. It's a, you know, it's a trade that I would take into consideration here on stream. The triangle would be relatively quick, but this would be the entry zone. Stop loss at the last higher low and attempt to come all the way up to the highs here at 74.5k. So it's a possible option. Let's see if that we do get another move down here. We could get that triangle formation here, and that's your invalidation. So overall, managing risk and looking for this you know, very attractive 3, maybe 4 to 1 risk reward. So you know, this is another trade in the pocket. If we move up here, take up the highs, I mean, this triangle, you know, could possibly look something like this, right? Where you're just starting your B wave here. So this would be your E wave, your A wave, sorry. Your B wave, you kind of take out the highs and then you reject, and you're still forming the triangle here throughout the next coming hours, right? It could last several hours, this triangle, and your B wave is maybe not in. Okay, so at the end of the day, you know, is it a small triangle or is it a large triangle? You know, could it be small here? You finish this triangle and then you move up, or could it be a larger triangle where this is a 3 wave move up to finish your B wave, and then you come down, right? And then you move up, and then, you know, you actually squeeze into a little bit longer of a triangle. Then obviously your entry is in this zone. Stop loss is the last higher low. and you're looking for the price to take out 74.5k, right? Just like intraday entry points here on this momentum, which is still bullish. The momentum is still bullish, right? So looking for longs here locally to take out the highs is not a bad option, right? There's nothing telling us that locally, basically, that it's bearish, it's going to reject. The structure is still bullish throughout the last several days, and the movement down, the movement up does look corrective. If that is corrective, then we need to look for combinations of a corrective structure to take out that high. Also, the movement down does look corrective as a 3-wave, 1, 2, 3. Of course, there is the bearish option where you have a wave 1, wave 2, another wave 1, and another wave 2. However, getting your second wave 1 like twice the length of your first wave 1 is not common. It is not common. Okay, so it fits better for the bulls for this to actually be a 3-wave corrective structure to the downside instead of a double 1, 2. Why? Because your second wave 1 is more than twice the length of your first wave 1, which is not common. So with that said, you know, you're probably forming a sideways corrective structure in this zone just to finally take out the highs again. That has to do with the movement up that looks corrective, and the movement down also looks corrective. So if you've got correction up, correction down, you know, you're probably forming a sideways complex correction. And this is why, you know, one of the options is this one right over here, which would be a WXY, and you finish your Y wave in a triangle. You've got two options here. You form a lower high, then you move down, then we're looking for the higher low here. You take out that high and move down, then, you know, possibly we're looking for the extension of the triangle a little bit longer, right, instead of a shallow one. However, the long trade has to be taken on your E wave detection. So in a triangle, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need the 5 waves, okay? Will they be small? Will they be long? I don't know. We'll have to see, right? So invalidation is always the C wave, right? If you're looking to get into the E wave. So that's a possibility. That's something that could happen. Naturally, I don't want a long here. I want a long the pullback. If we're going to form this smaller triangle, stop loss is very, very small. Managing risk, as always, giving the option for this scenario. Smaller triangle is an option if we do form a lower high. Let's see. Longer triangle is also an option if you do kind of double top from the local highs here, right? Then you need 3 more waves. The C wave, the D wave, and the E wave. That's your entry zone. That's your stop loss zone. Something that could happen. I know where to enter. I know what I'm looking for. What if this does not happen? Let's go through the other scenarios here that could evolve throughout the next coming minutes, next hour. As explained, looking for longs is still attractive, but it's not, okay, I long right away here. I mean, it might play out and it just breaks out through the highs, but it's planning a decent, good enough trade, right, where you know where to put stop loss. And, you know, if I enter right now as a long here, you know, I'm targeting the highs, you know, stop loss at the lows. Not that great risk to reward, right? Not that great as good management. So one other option, okay, we got the triangle in Y wave option. That's very possible. It's going to be interesting right now if we do come down, okay, to the golden pocket zone, which is common. Golden pocket 7-8 could be interesting. I could really consider that long on stream there. Other options, which is going to be a little bit more confusing and a little bit more volatile, is WXY. So you've got 3 wave down, 3 wave up, and now we're looking for the Y wave. Could a triangle be with a 1? Maybe it is. Okay. There's the more complex Y wave, of course, which would be a flat, where you have 3 wave down, and 3 wave up, you take out the highs or get very, very close to the highs. 0.9 Fibonacci is your minimum target, so that would be coming up all the way up here to 0.9 Fibonacci. Let me just flip this here into the 0.9. That would be coming up to 74.4k. Basically, that's already a good target for your flat. But basically, what you're looking at later on is a sharp, okay, move down, right, to form that AEBC flat, just to complete your Y wave. So it would be a little bit confusing, right? You're taking out the highs again. This ends up double topping or very close to double top, and then comes down and sweeps up the lows. What will be interesting here is looking for this C wave, okay, the flat, looking for the 5th wave internally. That's what we need to detect, okay? We need that big volume in the middle, massive move, and then the 5th wave is going to be looking interesting to speculate, either in a double bottom here, maybe it takes out this low and it, it reclaims it, and that's the long entry that I would be looking for. Okay, so it's literally a liquidity game as well, right? This does provide a very, very good solid setup here. But of course you might think, well, that means I have no trade setup here. I mean, there could be a higher low here. I would be interested in attempting a higher low. Got a tight invalidation. We'll talk about that right away. I mean, if we do get down there, would be interested in a potential long at the 73.5, 73.4k zone, with stop loss at 73.2 basically. Very, very tight stop loss, but with the potential of moving higher based on that triangle as explained. This trade requires time. It requires time. So you're moving up, then you're moving down very aggressively, and this is the moment that would be interesting for the long setup, okay? And that's where you're finishing a zigzag down in wave W, 3 wave up in wave X, WXY, and then a flat here, which is like, a liquidity grab up, liquidity grab down, and then, you end up moving to the upside. The only zone is this one, reaction at one of these higher lows. Most aggressive one is coming down to the point of control of this mini range from early this morning. This is actually a pretty solid level, right? These point of controls of these ranges, so if you don't SFP from one of these ones, I would treat this one as an SFP on its own. It's actually a pretty solid level. We know these levels do act as support. We actually got supported this weekend by one, right? This was a relatively larger range. Naturally, that point of control is, hey, this is like an SFP. You get the reaction, boom, trade above it. Same explanation. Where, got the long here, stop loss. If you're a sniper entering here, then, you got a very, very solid back test of that point of control. So you wick it, get above it, and then you back test it here, just for a good entry, good risk management, and then happy days, right? Monday morning in the profits we are. There's another way. There's the swing trade scenario where the stop loss is at the higher lows and you're targeting the highs basically, right? Which is, this is like your invalidation for the bullish case as explained, right? When we were talking about on Friday, the 1-2, 1-2, right? And look to take up the highs at some point. But if you're if you throughout the weekend you're on the charts and you're actually analyzing the point of control, stop loss at the low is of the wick is very valid. Reaction of the point of control of this range, solid. So same explanation from here, right? This range is not that big, I have to say, but it's still a high volume node. You still have a little bit of a range for several hours here, and if the price were to move in this matter, of course, would consider that long trade. If you do not SFP from the lows and you kind of smash down in that 5th wave, so you want to see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if that 5th wave, right, comes down smashing the lows, then your reaction level is this one. So that's where you get ready. If you don't get into a long here on the reaction reclaim, because you don't long as the price is moving against you. You're long on the reclaim, right? Same as here. You don't long, right, trying to catch the low. You need the reclaim of that point of control to have an entry and the stop loss at the low. And it's the same explanation from here, basically, that we had on the weekend, right? So you can see how the price tries to pierce through that point of control and then reclaims it. It's the same explanation, however, on a slightly lower time frame, right? So these are, this is some of the options that we do have here, okay, that could happen throughout the next coming hours, right? This one is a little bit, it is confusing, but if it does happen, if you sweep up the local highs at 74.5k and we move down very aggressively, we have a plan here. We know what we're looking for. You either sweep the local lows of today and get a reaction reclaim of them, or if it is aggressive and the fifth wave does pierce through those lows aggressively, we want to watch that range point of control as our proof of support zone, right? Boom, reclaim. And that's where you got a few minutes potentially to decide on that entry, right? Good risk management, stop at the lows. And then naturally, this is a sideways WXY finishing in a very confusing flat for your Y wave, just to then look to target the highs. The highs at 74.5k is your target for these long trades. So we're looking for local long trade setups as well, naturally, right? Because the momentum is bullish. It doesn't look like a solid high, guys. This is not a solid high, especially with this three wave down overlap. It does look like that these highs are likely going to be taken again at 74.5k, okay? Based on the information that is given here locally throughout today's price action. One other scenario is a larger triangle, which is running triangle, basically. This is very, very much an option. Running triangle where your B wave takes out the start of your A wave. Very, very possible where you form that running triangle. It does have a possibility. I would want to see this price action getting slightly higher and then come down here in a very corrective structure. It could be a long attempt here in this territory as well. If we were to form a lower high, three wavy down, would consider this long trade setup just to take out the highs. Might break out finally, but yeah, just a bullish pennant if you wish, right? Just keeping it simple, right? It's squeezing in a bullish pennant, kind of a bull flag, right, situation. But we need a few more waves here developed. In this case, of course, we would want another lower high, and then the next move down, your invalidation is this higher low. So on that movement down, it's just a larger triangle which could develop actually in the next coming hours. So ultimately, most of the scenarios, are looking bullish, right? They are looking for a corrective structure. We just don't know exactly which one is going to come to fruition. Another alternative, of course, would be the ABC flats. However, the C wave, we would be looking for a ending diagonal of some kind here. So we still haven't formed, in this case, the wave 2 basically, but you kind of sweep up the lows, get a bounce, and then form one more low. This is only interesting once you're like literally forming a possible wave 4, right? Speculating on a diagonal when you have other options is really, it's a bit random. You would want to see that movement down and then that bounce, and then you would say, right guys, we do have the possibility of an ABC flat with the C wave being an ending diagonal. Well, this only looks attractive once you're forming the wave 4, basically. So talking about it right now is like really random, like trying to predict what are the next waves are going to be. I mean, obviously the long scenario here is interesting. Once you have your wave 4 and you're moving down, then on the 5th wave is where you want to really detect reaction zones. Reaction zones, of course, you know, this point of control might get obliterated. You're just piercing through, you get the reaction, however you come back down. So if you were to have a 5-wave structure here in this ending diagonal formation for that ABC flat speculation, you need wave 3 and 4 to then say, right, I got a possibility to long the 5th wave of the ending diagonal here. In this case, the best option, you know, we would have to get, you know, this probably won't be enough unless the wave 4 is going to be more shallow, right? So I mean wave 3, sorry. So wave 3 maybe doesn't tap the point of control, and then it bounces, then you form the wave 4 and then wave 5, and then the wave 5 gets the reaction at the point of control. That's where you want to long. You know, you're literally treating this point of control as an SFP. However, if wave 3 already touches the point of control of this range and bounces, and then, you know, we form a lower high and start rolling down, the 5th wave, you're like, oh, you know, I'm running out of levels to, you know, take the trade, basically, because my point of control of this mini range has been violated. Well, naturally, you know, I would be looking for the sweep of liquidity of that higher low. This would become a valid SFP only if the price ends up moving down in an ending diagonal, right? Only if the price ends up moving down, okay, in this ending diagonal, basically. So if you pierce through the point of control, get a reaction, you form a lower high, and you're coming back down, you said, oh my goodness, I longed this level, I'm getting stopped out at break even, then I'm waiting for the SFP here. This would still be a very valid option to consider the long entry, of course. You just need to map the ending diagonal. Of course, we can speculate that it could happen. However, this does look attractive once you have the wave 4 in. So if we come down, sweep up the lows and get that reaction bounce and form a lower high here, then we know, hey, we've got an ending diagonal here. Wave 5 is going to be looking good for the long setup. Where would I look for? Well, if your wave 3 hasn't tapped the point of control yet, then the 5th wave could get the reaction at the point of control. No reaction at point of control, then I'm looking for the SFP of these higher lows formed early this morning. Does it make sense, you know, to find something bullish if we already come down to the, you know, these lows? And the answer is yes, we would be looking for that ABC flat. However, the C wave has finished in an ending diagonal, and I would still be very interested in looking for longs. It's all about knowing where to look for the longs and how the price needs to evolve. So it might seem confusing, all of the different scenarios that I'm talking about. However, there is likely one that is going to come to fruition. Now, obviously, the question is it the ending diagonal, right? To finish that ABC flat. Is it going to be the triangle here very locally, right, where you get a rejection here? I'm actually interested in that long, guys. If we do retrace a little bit more into this consolidation, I would, you know, I am going to take that long here on stream because I know it's very valid. 3 wave down, 3 wave up, A, B, C, D, E, and a higher low here, tight stop loss. This is a good risk to reward trade, so I don't need to go too crazy. I would want to see a little bit more of a pullback here, preferably. If this goes, then it goes, right? I can't long up here, me personally. So if we come down to this range, you know, we've got a lot of action here happening that could very likely hold as support. Then we got a squeezed triangle potential, A, B, C, D, E, but we need to come down a little bit more here. So maybe that's the one that's going to happen. I got an entry, I got stop loss, I got a target zone. Then of course we got the larger triangle, we got the even larger triangle, of course, and an A, B, C, D, E. And then we have the flat one, which is going to be very confusing, of course. We've got 3 wave down, 3 wave up, W, X, and then we just take out the highs, take out the lows. We want to look for that impulse down, you know, for that C wave, right, of the Y wave, right, WXY. Levels, point of control, you know, it's just really waiting for which structure is going to evolve here, guys, right? We don't have a crystal ball, but we know how price could develop. Most bullish case scenario most bullish case scenario would be, you know, we formed a running flat here already. However, it does look more 3 wavy. There might be a little cheeky 4 and 5 down here, and this is a wave 1, wave 2, right? And this just ends up breaking out in that wave 3. It's very possible. Naturally, of course, you know, it's however, you know, I don't like this as a C wave for the running flats. Not great. I mean, running flats are common when the structure is very bullish in this case, right? If structure is very bullish, running flats are actually common on either very bearish structures, if it is a corrective move on a downtrend, or if it's a corrective move in an uptrend. Running flats are common when the structure is very bullish. However, I don't like it too much because it seems like you're kind of missing a wave 4 and 5 here. I mean, this would have been ideal to take out those lows again, to look for the double bottom, you know, then you know, reaction here. It would have been ideal, but trading is, you know, gives you those it is challenging, you know. Sometimes I create 5-6 scenarios, and very local ones as well, and sometimes we wait for something to happen and it doesn't happen, right? So that's what trading is all about, right? Create a few plans, get them ready. You know, there's going to be many that don't form, of course, right? So I mean, this would be the most bullish case. If you wanted to be aggressive, this movement down was actually not a bad option to consider the long. Just because, you know, when we are structuring all of the different scenarios, we're literally talking about either a triangle here for the Y wave, right? WXY, you know, we were looking for an A, B, C, D, E. The ABC flat for the WX, right? ABC flat. You know, most of the scenarios do suggest that, you know, you do take out this high, or you continue a bit of a range in a triangle here, basically, or the longer triangle, A, B, C, D, E, and then move up. So squeezing along here with a tight invalidation was not a bad option here just about an hour ago. But anyway, we might come down here. Would be interesting. I would consider. Let's see if we do get that push down into this little cluster as a mini order block on the lower time frame here. Probably a 15-minute order block down here, or a 10-minute one. Could be interesting if we do get down there for a higher low. So let's see if we do get that, because I would treat this as a long entry. Invalidation is tight. It's that higher low, basically. Naturally, considering the ABC flat in the diagonal as well. So if you move down from here and you break it, then it is what it is, right? The bullish option would be the ending diagonal, okay? Which you're looking at something like this for that ABC. So you'll be like, oh, well, you know, if I longed right over here in this territory and I got stopped out, it's a stop loss, right? It doesn't matter. It's just a very possible long attempt with good risk management. And good risk management is all you need in your trading career. Anyway, not much more has to be said here on the very local scenarios. It does actually look attractive to take out the highs here again, guys. Okay, this is a big mess. There's nothing with the information. I mean, the bearish scenario is 1 2 1 2, and even here you could form a still a zigzag here. Your second wave 1 is just very, very long compared to your first wave 1, so it doesn't have the highest probability, even though it is possible, right? We're looking at mainly local corrections and local bullish options. However, this might be a wave 1 2 and another wave 1 and 2 here, taking out the highs or not, and then it nukes down in a wave 3, and it's like, well, guys, it's not common to see a second wave 1 this long compared to your first wave 1, so it doesn't have the heavy probabilities to play out. Okay, it could play out naturally, of course, but when we look at common things that happen, it is not common to get a second wave 1 over double the price here to then form a wave 3 later on. So looks more interesting for a corrective range here to be on the formation to then take out this high, than actually breaking down in a wave 3 on the bearish case. Okay, so that's what we got here locally, guys. Thank you very much for joining today's stream, much appreciated. Let's do a little bit of comment section, guys. We talked about all of the different scenarios. We did talk about the short scalp entry, which was this, just an aggressive double top, collect some profits, manage risk accordingly, of course, with this short trade. We did mention this just a few hours ago as we were tapping here the local highs inside of the trading community, just to give the option of a double top here locally is possible. If we already roll down $500-600, it's not worth entering the trade. And of course, if you entered that trade setup, we want to collect some profits, as this could be very much a corrective range, and we are looking for the highs very likely to be taken. Okay, so obviously giving that guidance of risk management, where a good trade could be lying and how to manage the trade and the risk, which is very important for the education and for trading, education nowadays, right? Where I think we lack a lot with risk management education, and that's where we are very, very good, myself and Devils. If you are interested, make sure to send me a DM with the word access. Super simple to join, guys. You got Bluffin, Velto. The affiliate links down below on the exchanges. Bluffin, of course, has insane campaigns going on. There's up to $50,000 in rewards. The more you trade, the more rewards you're going to get once you sign up with the affiliate link down below. Bluffin is great, and you get access to the trading community with a minimum deposit for your own trading. Send me the word access if you are interested in the trading community. Not 200 likes as of yet. It is what it is. What can we do? It is what it is. What can we do, my man, A Trader? Great stream and much love. Thank you very much for the insane support, A Trader, as always. And thanks, guys, for smashing up the like button. Let's go through the comment section and see what is going on. Okay. Higher time frame, bearish options. There is. Naturally, you can fit a WX. This would have to be one of the options that we talked about. There's a few options for the bearish case here where it could be a little bit tricky on the higher time frame. I'm in no swing short trade, guys. I'm in no big swing short trade. That one got stopped out, and I don't have a reason here to short on a swing trade. Okay, I don't have any reasons for the swing short. Day trade shorts, day trade longs here is the way to go. I've only got the day trading account with the active trades literally at the moment, which is the long and the short. Okay, long that was talked about also on the Friday from, not last week's Friday, it was Friday from 2 weeks ago right now. But yeah, basically a long entry that we talked about, that slowdown consolidation, right, into the 67, 66k range. I mean, whoever's still heavy long on that one, I did take most of the profits on this one. But as mentioned, right, we look for longs and shorts, right, in a range that could look corrective. We have the fractals, right? These fractals at the moment doesn't look like, looks like that we're not forming that last little lower high, right? And I think there was too many eyes looking at this, right? Too many eyes looking at this fractal. I did actually see it on X. Devil mentioned it also last week, and I also mentioned it in the last few days, right? Well, last week basically. And it's not happening, right? We're taking out the highs. By no means, you know, we trade based on fractals and like it's going to be bearish. I'm going to enter short here because it is going to end up rolling down, right? And then, you know, people were actually still in short. I will maybe on next stream share the DM from somebody last week saying I'm short from 68k. And of course, with the price action that we had on the end of last week, I was like, you know, it's just not a great idea to be underwater and expecting a reversal. It's just not a good idea. And this is how people get burnt, right? This is how people lose in trading. Even though we got, you know, higher probability that this does look corrective rather than a multiple 1-2, because the, you know, second wave 1 and 2, well, the second wave 2s is extremely long in time. That is uncommon. A running flat here on the second wave 2, it's just not great for the bullish case. However, it could still play out, and the local price action rules the game. If you are forming local bullish market structure and you have bullish options, you know, if you short from here from last week at 67, 68k, you know, you got a big problem at the moment. You know, you're underwater. It might be 5%, it might be 20%. You might be adding to the position. You're basically losing control on your plan, on your emotions, because I was too focused on the higher time frame fractal from 2022. We're in a bear market. It's a likely a corrective move, and I'm just going to short here, and I'm going to add to the position because it's going to reverse at some point. And this is the perfect trap. This is the perfect trap for the bears to get extremely wrecked. So, I mean, technical analysis and fractals and, you know, overbought RSI maybe on the 4 hourly. Nothing is perfect, right? Nothing is perfect. What is perfect is your risk management. And that's what we as traders need to work on mainly. You're not a losing trader because you have good or bad technical analysis, right? You become a losing trader because you have emotion and bad risk management. It's the main reason. It's not because I'm not the greatest technical analyst. I could be one of the greatest on risk management and how to manage trades, but on technical analysis, not. I wouldn't say I'm even close from being the greatest. So anyway, let's go through the comment section. And the triangle is very tight now. Yeah, I mean, if we were to form a lower high right there, get a small little pullback, this could be an interesting one. It could be an interesting long that I would be willing to take here. Into this little, there's an order block there, probably 10-minute time frame. Little consolidation we had there. 3 wave down, 3 wave up. A, B, C, D, E, you know, just to finish that WXY, right? And it's just we had a triangle last week. We had one in a WXY here. This was actually mentioned inside of the trading community to get ready for that long trade setup, basically. We talked about the triangle potential from this range, which was formed last Thursday. This little range right over here, which had the possibility to turn into a triangle here, which it did in the end, right? You do have the 5 pivots inside of the triangle, and that gives you the option to get into the long trade. On the updates here inside of the community last week on Thursday, this could actually turn into a triangle, because as we do count the waves and analyze this structure, we do have the possibility this was a flat actually in W wave X, turn into that triangle. We could squeeze here, right? Another lower high, higher low, 2 lower highs, and then look for that move up to get above 71.8k. The triangle, and we ended up forming that triangle. Just to give the examples, right? Because I know it sounds very speculative, like we could form this and form that. I do get some bad messages about Elliott Wave theory, which is, it's okay. I understand it's not for everybody, and it might seem like it's you must be smoking crack or something if you are delusional with these patterns that could be forming out of nowhere, right? Well, no, it's something that could form, and something that we can be ready. We can manage risk, we can look for the entry. This is going to be looking interesting coming down into this zone. Let's see, we're going to give it a chance. Session VWAP would be nice, that it would be round about that zone, just slightly above. Session VWAP here would be interesting. So get the move down, session VWAP, reclaim, a little bit of this would be interesting to see here, to then get that move up. Let's see if we do get a little bit more of a squeeze down, but it would be a very, very valid triangle attempt here on a sideways WXY. Very, very valid. Anyway, let's go through comment section. Much love. Give us 79 likes. 79,000. Much love, Bitcoin boss. Yeah, I'm not that heavy long actually. Longs, I didn't have any local new longs. I was not trading in the weekend, but this would have been a very, very valid attempt on Saturday. This was Saturday. Yeah, we know that weekends are usually very low volume, low volatility, very rangy. And if you've had this volatility up and down, and the 1-2-1-2 is a very, very valid option, invalidation here. But yeah, I don't usually trade on the weekends. I try and chill out. But I had no local long or short, well, short only, double top short. So I'm happy just with this internal quick short scalp day trade from today. It's valid. And we might get a new long, might get a long here if I'm still around in the next, whenever this happens. I would want to see a bit more of a pullback here locally, but only setup that I had today, just because we were trading already up here. Yeah, it was literally this this local, very, very local double top. But this would have been a great longing zone. Not aware of anything here. This was very early, late. Well, this was Sunday, part of Sunday, just not really looking at the charts. So only valid short that I had today in the trading community was a double top attempt. I mean, we need to attempt these double tops just because we are hitting that order block low of the daily, which is this wick low down here. That order block low is being hit, You know, there's lots of resistance here still. We've got the anchored VWAP from Bybit, and it's good enough to speculate on local double tops here. Good enough to speculate on a double top and you know, it's just so easy to manage risk on these trades. Very, very valid. Very, very valid today. And for longs, as explained, it's the only one locally here would be this one here. Get a bit more of a pullback. I'm not sure if we are going to get it, but it would be nice to pull back a little bit more into this small little consolidation. That's where I would prefer to long here, because my invalidation is going to be tight. It's a tight invalidation for the triangle here, which is the low of the C wave, right? Of this speculative A, B, C, D, E for the Y wave of the WXY, right? So it's the only long setup that I would have here locally. So I'm gonna have to wait for it. If this does this, then I didn't enter the long. If it does this, then I probably enter the long and I get stopped out. But if it does this and then this, then well, it's a good trade with good risk management. What can we say? Legends, thank you very much for joining the stream. It's time to say hello to the absolute wonderful community. The ones that have been joining right now and smashing up the like button. Much appreciated, guys. Interest in crypto and Bitcoin is going down, right? There's tensions going on and people are losing a little bit of interest. But we are a trading channel. We look for shorts, we look for longs. I try to do my best, of course, to try and predict the movements, but we are reactionary traders at the end of the day, right? I can't be too bullish or too bearish, and we try to look for internal, setups for the entries, and that's what we do. Much love, guys. Thank you very much. Bathmadio, let's go. Anything that you want me to take a look at? We've been going through the higher time frame. Something that I wanted to discuss about the bearish options on the higher time frame, because what if we do go to higher prices and instead of hitting 80k or breakout in a wave 3, we just literally get to 75, 76 and then we roll over, and it's like, oh damn, we did not reject from the anchored VWAP successfully. We did not, we kind of had a little breakout of a couple of $1,000, which did look bullish. You talked about the main big bullish scenario, which is multiple 1-2s snap out in a wave 3. There's actually still bearish options on the higher time frame, despite, taking out the highs, of course. They are very, very challenging to get into the short. I'm happy with the anchored VWAP on Bybit. This is resistance. It does help for the decision on local double tops. We're beneath the anchored VWAP. We trade above this level. It's going to be challenging for me to, snipe a high. I can't get into a high if I don't have the daily order block low, the anchored VWAP on Bybit from 98k. That is, I don't have much reasons to short here, so I don't have a plan. So it's going to be challenging. If I get stopped out here from the short at break even, then it's unlikely you're going to see me in a short position, or I'm going to provide a short position. It's going to be a bit challenging here if we do break out the local highs and the anchored VWAP on Bybit. So the only big levels of resistance that we do have is really coming into the 78k level, where we got a bit of naked point of control, range point of control as well, right, from this consolidation here. I think we're going to have a couple of daily levels up, well, one daily level at 78.6. But in this space from 78 and 74, where there's not much going on. There's not much going on here. We got the daily order block, of course, and it could reject at any point in this territory. I just don't have a solid setup for an entry on a short here. If we're going to move up, I don't have a solid resistance for a reaction, sniper trade, stop loss above the high of point of control, little order block, daily level. I don't have much here going on, so it's going to be difficult, and not worth the risk in my opinion, just because we have a bit of an empty and lack of confluence in this territory. There is a little bit of a lack of confluence, so I'm not going to have any short attempts anywhere here, unless I can detect a 5-wave move, right? Coming up here, I can detect the 5th wave where it can look toppy, and maybe look for the short. But if not, I'm unlikely going to have any short attempts up here between 75 and 78k. Basically 78k, big stuff going on here. You got a couple of point of controls, a daily level, literally the top of the order block as well, kind of an SFP territory, right? Fair value gap, if you wish, right over here. So that 79k level is a reactionary zone here. Fair value gap. I'm not sure if we're going to get up there, but if we do get close to getting up here, we can talk about maybe the possible short trades. Now, right now locally I only have long potential scenarios. It would be nice. It doesn't want to pull back here. Would have been nice to get that anchored, the session VWAP kind of tapped reaction here at the highs of this little mini order block zone, and that would have been my entry for the long attempt. It looks like it doesn't want to pull back. It wants to break out. It wants to pop out here, which means it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Another trade around the corner. And on the higher time frame was explained the kind of the Elliott Wave scenarios that I would be looking for. If we were to break out from these highs, I would have to come to the conclusion that this was the end of the correction, either in a running flat, which doesn't look great, or a WXY. However, it doesn't fit nicely for a sideways WXY here, finishing in a zigzag, because you took out this high. This is also a 3-wave structure. Yeah, I would have to come to the conclusion that it would be a running flat if we were to smash out from the high here, right? And volume increases and we just break out. That's literally your wave 1, your wave 2, and you're just building up here the wave 3. And this is, it was just, this actually would have been an aggressive entry with stop loss at the low. Just considering that this is likely a 3-wave move up and this is likely a 3-wave down. So it's either, end of the move here, especially when you got this bounce. You're confirming with this movement to the upside that this is a 3-wave down. So obviously getting into a pullback from this low after this movement would have been the possible option here. But anyway, let's wait and see. We might get that leg down here. Much love to everybody. Thank you very much for joining today's stream. We'll squeeze through that order block to 79k. Yeah, very much possible. Of course, that order block here tests the highs of the order block, which is 79k. And you got the fair value gap, of course. Fair value gap right over here. And this is actually a 79k is a reactionary level. But yeah, looking for intraday long entries is is the way to go as well. I don't have many short options here, really. Not many short options, or rather no short option, apart from this local double top. And longing options in this range do look more attractive, of course. Much love to everybody. Thanks for joining the stream. Time to lock your chain link. Time to look at your chain link. I haven't checked it. No need to check. That's spot bags for the future. No need. But Bitcoin Boss saying that we will squeeze through. There is that option for sure. Breakout in a wave 3. Or get a significant breakout. Let's talk about the higher time frame possibilities here still for the bears. Most bullish option, as explained, is at some point smashing out in that wave 3. And bearish options, which we still have. One we talked about, which you might have not seen anywhere, is a triangle in W here, a flat, running flat in your wave X, and then a zigzag move up here in a wave Y. There is a little bit of a problem here with this for an A wave. It doesn't look very impulsive, but it could still be an option, you know, if we were to reject somewhere in this zone and like really aggressively reject, right? And because on the bullish options, we're looking at 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go, guys. You know, bull market, we go to 80K, you know, 85K. And what if we get above 75, 76K and then roll over very aggressively, right, in the next coming days? I have to say, I don't have any quick catch the high option here. You know, if we do pump up to 75, 76 and we end up rejecting in the coming days, I will unlikely be in any short position or provide any short unless I'm looking at the lower time frame and we can spot something that is bearish, such as the end of a 5th wave or a movement down in an impulse and a corrective bounce, you know, in this zone on the 1 minute, 5 minute time frame, maybe to spot the highs for the rejection. But you know, I don't have any short options really. So, you know, looking for higher movement locally are looking corrective, which means that we could pop out. Great option to long was on Saturday, hitting that point of control of that mini range here that we had from last week. Very, very good option, of course, with that consolidation here on Saturday to attempt that long. Obviously, last week we had the long attempt on Monday, which we did discuss here, likely to move down into support at 66, 67K that was mentioned on Friday's update. You know, we're likely going to bounce here. We're going to form a channel, downtrend channel, that will end up popping out maybe Sunday or Monday. This was Friday from the previous week, not last week, the previous one. Obviously, whoever's is still in that long is very, very happy, of course, if treated as a swing. I treated it as a day trade mainly. Still have a little bit open of that long, which, you know, if we break out to much higher levels, then profits are profits, right? So, right, legends, not much more than I can discuss here. If we do see something available, naturally the trading community is there. You know, if you are there, you can always tag me, as you know, if you're inside of a community. If you're not inside of the trading community, it's super easy to join, guys. That's where we do provide the internal possible setups. Okay, the short setup was an option today, local double top inside of the trading community, defensive, profits taken. And you know, if you want more of that, you know where to find us inside our trading community. Send us a DM with the word access. Super simple to join. Join one of the affiliate links down below. Minimum deposit, and you get in. Okay, all of these different affiliate links, they do have great bonuses, such as Bluffin has great rewards for the first users, of course, that just sign up. Okay. We have the FOMC on Wednesday. Likely we'll do a live stream, okay, on Wednesday throughout the FOMC minutes. This is at 7 p.m. Central European time. Yeah, very likely would stretch it to see the volatility where Bitcoin is, see if we can find some local possible trading setups. Much love to everybody. Thanks for joining today's stream. Much appreciated. Trade safe, stay safe, and I'll see you soon, or if I'll see you inside of the trading community. Thank you guys. See you in the next one.